Is Jameis going to get revenge on the Saints Sunday? Or is the Rizzy train gonna keep on rolling? Thomas, hit that intro.
Welcome to Saints Happy Hour Podcast. We never skip a drink day.
Budrich wants to know how the doctor's doing.
That ended.
Now grab a drink and enjoy the show.
All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Saints Happy Hour Podcast. As always, we are brought to you by Hard Hide, Ponchatoula, Strawberry Whiskey. I got Kevin with me. I got Thomas running the show back in Poland. If you found us on the YouTubes, like us, subscribe, and put a comment down there. It helps us with the algorithm. It's a great way to support the show, and it doesn't cost you anything. And by the way, Kevin, super exciting news. Patreon has allowed us to give away free subscriptions. So we're going to start doing that. We're going to start giving away free subscriptions to people. So that's really cool and exciting. Also exciting, Kevin, the Saints ended our misery with 7-game losing streak. It's over. They play the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. The 2-7, by the way, Cleveland Browns. The Saints are a 1.5-point favorite. Previewing this game, I feel like it's so hard to untangle with the Browns because if you look at them, they're terrible and they're injured. They're a lot like the Saints, but they were basically not an NFL offense when they had the nasty man at quarterback. And now they have Jameis, for all his faults, and for all his, if you don't like him, and he throws a ton of picks and he does this, he is an NFL quarterback and he will take shots and he can get really hot. He can get really cold. So you don't know what you're going to get. But like, if the Saints would have played Cleveland with the nasty man, I'd have been like, Saints are going to win this game probably pretty easily. But now with Jameis, I think it's kind of a coin flip game. What's your initial thoughts when you're thinking Saints Cleveland?
Yeah, initial thoughts, roughly the same. Jameis, 50-50 proposition. He is going to make mistakes, but he has the potential to play well enough to beat you. I mean, they did that against Baltimore, and Baltimore is a considerably better team
Baltimore,
than Saints, obviously.
And the thing is, too, is they did that against Baltimore. Remember, they traded Amari Cooper. So their receivers, while their receivers are better than the Saints because the Saints currently have the worst receivers in the NFL because of injury, Cleveland's receivers ain't no Miss America. I don't know what you would call it. It isn't like they aren't like 5-star dining over there at receiver for Cleveland. They got Njoku at tight end. My question to you, though, is, look, interim coach, you get the vibes, you get the dead cat bounce, right? You get that, a lot of times you get that interim coach momentum, or you hope to, right? And you get that boost, and the Saints clearly got the boost. Like, they were playing hard, they were engaged, they were there against Atlanta. Do you think it's going to continue on, or are they going to flatline and we're going to go back to sort of that blah? Not really that they quit, but just like the games against Denver, especially, like, the effort was poor. Do you think Rizzy's going to be able to keep the effort level up?
Here's the thing about that, and I think I said this on the big show on Tuesday. Shit, I might have. I think I even said it in the immediate post game. Is the second half against Atlanta, the Saints did not look all that good.
They did not.
So if we're talking, is he going to be able to coach? Are they going to continue this run of success, or are they going to fall back to? They're going to regress to the mean. Their mean. I would say they did that in the second half.
Yeah.
So the question is, can Rizzy keep them? Can Rizzy get them up in the first half to where they dominate well enough to where when they I don't want to say fall apart, but when they dip when they inevitably dip in the second half, will they still be able to hang on? Will he be able to coach them to the point where they can make one or two plays in the second half that make the difference?
Yeah, because here's the thing. Their offense really was pretty putrid against Atlanta. They had a couple of nice drives. The first drive of the game, actually, besides the Taysom play that got called back, it was a nice drive. It was a nice mix. They ended up not scoring because they went on fourth down and didn't get it. But really, after that, their offense was basically 2 MVS shot plays, a Kamara play, and that's what got them their points, right? So my question is the addition of McCoy, which I think is a pretty big damn thing for them. I think having him back at center, Fuaga, Ruiz, Penning, they all said like he really helped us. He really energized the side. My question is, with McCoy back, does it give them something else? Because I don't think you can count on the MVS 100-yard, 2-touchdown game. I don't think you can count on that again. They're going to have to get something else on offense, whether it's run game, whether it's tight ends stepping up. They're going to have to get something else. And I wonder if McCoy will be able to give them that something else.
Well, you know, we haven't seen him since the beginnings of week 3 against the Eagles. You would hope that him coming back portends to the offensive line playing better. I mean, the offensive line has been somehow not a complete shit show. Like, they didn't surrender any sacks last week. I mean, Carr did get pressure and made some bad decisions. Like,
but I mean, by the way, LOL Atlanta, they blitzed half the time and they still couldn't get to Carr. Like, that's how bad their pass rush is. But
so my hope is that Myles Garrett doesn't completely eat Fuaga. Wait.
Fuaga. Well, they move Myles Garrett around. They move him around. So
no, but wait. But if he's the left defensive end,
he'll be on Penning. But they move him, right? So they move. They move. Okay. They have done.
Then the hope is that Penning doesn't have his lunch eaten or get penalized having to hold Myles Garrett. I don't think Carr is going to get sacked all that much. I think Carr will throw it. I think Carr would throw it away. Carr would probably throw it away too early and get a intentional grounding, or he might just make force a bad throw.
Here's the thing, Cleveland with Jim Schwartz, they play a certain way on defense. Like, they're going to give you a chance to hit shot plays. Like, and the theory would go against the Saints, you would just put Ward on MVS, stuff the run, and be like, do something else, Saints. And that would be the game plan. But Cleveland defense, 19th against the run. Not great, not terrible, right? Their rush offense is 25th. Nick Chubb had the horrific injury. He's on his way back. We'll see. To me, Kevin, you know, it's been a long time, right? The Saints have not been in this sort of condition in a while, right? And they, like, if you're watching this and you're under 30, right, or 35, you don't even remember the Saints being this dreadfully bad, right?
No.
But I do, as a child, and in the 90s when I went to college and they had Ditka. And here's the thing with bad teams is bad teams, it's not that they consciously go into a game and don't care and say, I'm going to quit. But a bad team, either the Saints or Cleveland, Sunday, they fall behind 10-0, 14-3. They're very, very likely to roll over in a way that Atlanta didn't, right? The Saints got up 10-0 on Atlanta. Atlanta was 6-3 going in that game. They're fighting for something. They're not just going to quit and be like, we'll get them next week. The Saints or Cleveland, when you're a bad team, the rest of the year, I believe for the Saints, You tell me how they're going to do in the first quarter. I'll tell you if they have a shot to win or they're going to get blown out. Like, if they start the game shitty, I don't think the Saints are going to have bounce back games where, they fell behind 14-3 to Cleveland and came back and won. No, it's going to be they fell behind 14-3 to Cleveland and they lost 31-10. Like,
so you think? So do you think that if the Browns are up at the end of the first 10-0, that the Saints have no chance? Of
almost zero shot. I would say. The one thing that I was thinking about, Kevin, the Saints-Browns games, since 1999, they've all been really, really weird. Because let's go back. DA's first year, 2022. They played the Browns in like sub-minus 40-degree weather, right?
Yeah.
And Taysom got them. They had the realtor man. It was the safety, Sorensen. He had the pick. The Saints won in sub-zero. Like, it was like minus 50 degrees with the wind chill. They had that game. The 2018 Cleveland game where Cleveland missed like 7 field goals and they had lost like 20-something games in a row and almost beat a Saints team that ended up going 13-3 into the NFC Championship. You had the 2014 game where the Saints lost on a horrific pass interference call. You had the 2010 game where Colt McCoy was like his first start ever, beat the Super Bowl champion Saints. Scott Fujita had the 3 interceptions, remember that game. So like all these Cleveland games, as you go back, 2010, Sean Payton's first win. So all these Cleveland games, Cleveland Saints, the Hail Mary with Ditka in 99, like they're all freaking weird. They have a history of weird Browns game. And I just think, Kevin, when you add in Rizzy and you add in Jameis, I feel the potential for weirdness is very high.
I don't disagree with that. I can't argue with that. You made a very compelling case. So I don't see. Here's the thing. I can't see Jameis showing up and being 300 yards, over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no picks. One takes 1 or 2 sacks just because of a complete failure of a blocking assignment or something. I can't see that. I can see Jameis being 2-2, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions, having to throw the ball like 30 plus times, 33 times, something like that. And they still win. Like, he's either going to be like that, where he's equally good and equally bad, or he's going to just be bad.
Here's my question, Kevin. Cleveland, they have had almost as many offensive line injuries as the Saints. They've lost the tackle. They've had the issue. The Saints have had the issues in the interior of the line. Cleveland's had the issues with the tackles. They've allowed 43 sacks. And I know what people are thinking. They're watching this, Kevin. They're like, well, Deshaun Watson was getting sacked an incredible amount of times. And that's true. 7 starts, 33 sacks. But Jameis, Kevin, 2 starts, 9 sacks. They've allowed 43 sacks. I know the Saints pass rush.
The NFL.
Yeah, I know the Saints pass rush is bad, and it was only good. It improved a little against Atlanta. Brian Young did some stuff. I gotta say, this is fascinating. We have the team that struggles to sack the quarterback against the team who cannot protect them. Who would you bet on in this battle? Like, would you take the Saints or would you take the Browns?
Take the Saints. I would take the Saints on this because, look, they got 22 sacks on the year right now. Yeah. They're below the halfway point.
Yeah.
I remember I looked at this on Tuesday. They are below the halfway point. But they're tied with a whole bunch of teams for like 22 sacks.
And Cleveland only
I
got
can see them-
27.
They're not going to. I don't see them dominating and walking out of there with like 5 sacks or something. I could see them getting 2.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll look good. Like, they'll get pressure, but, because they're the Saints, they won't be able to close. They won't be able to finish. They'll chase Jameis out the pocket, and Jameis will, because he's still got a bit of a cannon, he can throw it downfield. Or he may try and scramble for something, who knows. But I see 2 sacks and them making him run around a bit.
See, and here's another thing with the Browns. Yeah, the Browns have 27 sacks. And Myles Garrett, amazing. He's got 7 sacks in 9 games. That's incredible. But here's the thing. They traded Zadarius Smith to the Lions, right? He had 5. They don't have anybody else with more than 3, right? So now the Saints, when Cleveland used to have Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett, you could say, oh, it's tough. We gotta block both. Now, I think the Saints can build a game plan and be like, Myles Garrett's not wrecking our game plan. Like, it might be somebody else. It might be Tomlinson. It might be names I can't pronounce, Komora, or Okoro.
Well, he's on IR.
Oh, yeah. So you're right. So it might be somebody else. It could be Jordan Hicks or Shelby or whoever. But
yeah,
I think the Saints I'm confident that their plan, they'll be like, Myles Garrett, you're not wrecking this plan. Like, unless the Saints fall behind in the game, I can see that. I'm pretty confident the Saints will protect. And listen, like, say what you want about Derek Carr, and you and Andrew have made this point. He makes maddening decisions, like throwing the ball, grounding. He'll make terrible and like the throw where he had Forster Morrow, he didn't hit him. He had plenty of time to set his feet and make the throw. He does all that, and he's a mid quarterback, and I'm not going to argue that.
Right,
but he doesn't take sacks. Like, Derek Carr has reached that sort of veteran, I don't know what you call it, savvy or whatever, where he can just decide, no matter how the line, whether they're playing good or they're playing bad, he'll just decide, I'm not getting sacked today. If I got to get this ball out in 2.5 seconds, I'll get it out. It might be a bad decision. It might be a tip, might be a pick, whatever. I'm not getting sacked. So I'm like weirdly confident that the Saints are going to be fine against Cleveland.
What, against the pass rush or just
against the pass rush of Cleveland?
Yeah,
I'm just now. Will people get open? I mean, the Saints receivers are bad.
Can they block Myles Garrett long enough
for somebody
to get MVS down the field, or somebody, or have somebody get open over the middle for Carr to throw a ball to? Yeah, like that's.
Here's my question. We had talked.
I actually think the Saints' running game is going to be good.
That's what my next point is, because Cleveland, their run game is 25th, but the Saints are, if you want to go by advanced metrics, dead last, and dead last by a significant margin. Run defense. Cleveland, a little less than mediocre stopping the run. I just believe both of these teams are going to attempt to run the ball. And it comes down to, Kevin, who do you trust more to run the ball? Cleveland or the Saints?
Kamara's a better player than Nick Chubb, but I think you got me debating here.
It's tough because I feel like run defense, it's about fit, yes, it's about scheme, but it's also about, do you just feel like doing it today? Do you just feel like tackling Cleveland running backs 25 times today? You just feel like doing it.
It's that first quarter.
Yeah.
It's that first quarter. If you can limit Nick Chubb, or limit the number of times you get gashed, if you're holding him, let's say you're holding him to like 2 yards, 3 yards, 2 yards, 3 yards, and then he breaks out like a 20. Okay, like he gashed you one time for a pretty big gain, but if you're consistently keeping him in line, I could live with that, even if they gave up like over 100 yards rushing, something like that.
It'll drive me insane, and it'll be just, because they still have people that want to pretend that Jameis is good and Jameis is better than Derek Carr. He's not. And I believe that no matter what happens on Sunday. And it will be,
I mean, depending on who you talk to, we all think Derek Carr is, one of the top tier quarterback, and we think all these other like ridiculous things. But whatever. I don't think it's people wanting to invent their own narrative to make themselves feel better. Yada yada. But
here's my point for the Saints.
Yeah,
make Jameis win the game. If the Saints can shut down the run game of Cleveland, and you look at the run game, and we're talking on the post game, and we're like, hey, Cleveland ran 22 times for 79 yards, or even like if it's 28 times for 100 and it's like barely under 4, that's okay. I want the game, make Jameis decide the game. If Jameis is going to go inferno mode like he did against Baltimore, or he's going to go inferno mode like he did against the Falcons in 2021 in the fourth quarter, if he's going to do that, fine. Cool. Jameis, you threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. You ran for 1, whatever. Okay, fine. You beat the Saints. You're 3-7. Congratulations. But to me, Kevin, you got to put it on Jameis. You cannot have Jameis in this game where he's just a passenger and has very pedestrian stats because Cleveland's running for 190 like Atlanta did this past Sunday. Can't have it.
You've got to make him throw. You've got to make him throw close to 40 times.
Oh, you said 40.
You got to make him throw close to 40 times.
What?
Like 35. I think if you can get him to throw over 35, you have a great chance. Look, he threw 41 times against the Ravens, but that stat line, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks.
2 dropped interceptions, by the way, in that game.
Quarterback rating, quarterback rating, 115. Like, that was a lot of things going the right way for the Browns, for Jameis on that day. I think you get him to throw over 35 times.
You'll feel really good about it?
I will.
Okay, so Jameis over 35 throws, you feel great about it. For the Saints on offense, and you can't have the miracle MVS game again, what are you looking for in that box score that's going to portend really well for the Saints? And you can't and it can't be Kamara. It can't be MVS, and it can't be Kamara.
I won't say Kamara. I'll say, obviously, look, the rushing game. Let me get. Where was I here? I think if the rushing game overall gets over 100, I'll be happy. But I'll say, show me. Hang on, I want to look at this. The Panthers box score here. Show me some guys that are making more than 1 catch.
Yeah.
Like Foster Moreau, if he's in, Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson, Taysom, Mims, all these guys. Let me go back to the depth chart here. If Cedric Wilson is playing, if Jermaine Jackson actually lines up as a wide receiver, somebody here, multiple people, in fact, have to be more than just 1 catch. I don't want to see a stat line where it's Kamara, leads with like 6 catches, Taysom gets 4, and then it's 4 guys with, 5, 6 guys with 1 catch each.
Yeah.
There needs to, the receiving, the catches needs to be spread out. I'm not saying that means you have to throw exactly 4 to Kamara, 4 to Taysom, 4 to I'm saying everybody else has to step up and prove that you can do something other than be just like a one-time, oh, this guy caught one pass for 12 yards. He caught one for 8.
I'm gonna
give me something so that the defenses, either the Browns and teams in the future, will bite on somebody and say, okay, we have to account for this guy. Oh, Mason Tipton caught 3 balls for 24 yards. Kevin
Austin looked pretty good. Like I would say, if you said I had to pick not MVS and you wanted to pick somebody else that could potentially do something, Kevin Austin, he did nice stuff. He did some nice stuff against Atlanta. Here's my thing that I want, and if you told me this, I would feel really good at 3:00 when we're doing the postgame show. If you told me Taysom Hill and Jordan Mims combined had more than 8 carries, and it wasn't because Kamara was hurt. Like if you said to me, Taysom Hill and Jordan Mims combined, they had 10 carries for 44 yards and a touchdown, I would feel really good as long as Kamara being healthy, because that would mean the Saints are running the crap out of the ball and they're running Kamara, but they're also like, hey, Alvin, take a breath. It's cool. We're going to hand off to Jordan Mims, and he's getting us 4 yards a pop, and it's cool, and we're just grinding the Browns into the dirt. So that's what I want. Give me Taysom, Jordan Mims, plus more than 8 carries between the two of them. Because they had 6.
Against the Falcons, they had a combined 6. Against the Panthers,
maybe you need 10. I'll say I need 10.
But they never. The total yardage never
wasn't great.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if Taysom's getting carries, that's a good sign, because it either means, one, he's getting carries in the red zone, because that's when the Saints like to do it, or he's getting carries on 3rd and 4th and short, which is the down and distance you want to be in. I know Atlanta stuffed them, but it's still a cheat code. I'm fine with them doing it over and over again. So that, to me, Taysom getting more carries is always a good sign for the Saints. But situationally.
I said this, I tweeted this during the game last week against the Falcons. I might have said it in the post game that day. Taysom needs to throw the ball.
Yeah.
A couple of times.
Yeah.
Line them up like we see them do. But instead of him just catching it and just running straight ahead and moving around and trying to use his legs and fight for that push, have him throw it twice.
Yeah.
Give me two, maybe 3 throws.
Yeah.
Make the defenses respect the fact that you have a guy who can throw the ball, actually throw the ball.
Yeah.
Give me that moment's hesitation. Give me that moment's buy-in, where either he completes a pass and it's for like 6 yards. Okay, fine. It's whatever. It's just, it's whatever. Or maybe he completes a slightly longer one that gets a first down. Something that makes people think this guy could still pass the ball.
Well, I think
even if they run it 80% of the time, give me the 20.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, Kevin. We know. Look, he's not a starting level quarterback in the NFL. No. But he's good at he can complete a pass. And here's the thing: I think the Saints need to even add a little bit of risk to that on a 4th down or a 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2. When you line up Taysom and everyone in the stadium's like, "Here comes Taysom power." Snap the ball. He fakes running into the line. You try to hit him for a shot play. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe he's like, oh, it's covered, and he tries to run and get stuff. But I'm telling you,
or a curl.
The first time you run that on those 3rd and 4th and short play, everybody for Cleveland's crashing down to tackle him. And the Saints, this offense with these receivers, without Olave, they gotta hit the big plays. The Saints aren't gonna have multiple drives, I don't think, unless they just run the ball down Cleveland's throat. We're not going to look up and be like, oh, the Saints had the ball 36 minutes and had 3 touchdown drives of 10 plus yards. It's going to be like it was against Atlanta. It's going to be, you hit a shot play to MVS. Taysom on 3rd and 1, hit a shot play to Juwan Johnson. Like, that's what you got to do. So I'm with you. Like, Taysom not like, that's the thing that's bothered me with Taysom's usage, as I think Pete Carmichael and Kubiak, they've gotten better at it. And it's interesting. Like, he can throw the ball. Like, and the thing is, he can throw the ball and he's not egregious throwing interceptions. So I think you're 100% right. I think they should trust him to throw the ball because listen, brother, these receivers, Kevin, that the Saints got, it's not the worst receiving core of our entire lives. It's pretty close for the Saints at the moment.
That's something that'll be a future Big Show topic. Trying to break it down and figure out who is worse. Me and
Butteridge did it, and we were going back in the 80s, and I was
I saw that, but do it on the pod.
Yeah, and I'll say this. Even if you want to say the 2021, not to go into a deep discussion because we got to get out of here, but the 2021 Saints, as bad as that receiving core was when they brought back Kenny Stills, they had Marquez Callaway, who had 700 yards. They had Deontay Hardy, who had 500 yards. And I'm telling you, Kevin, if you gave me Deontay Hardy / Harris, or you gave me 50 catch Callaway, I'd kill for that on Sunday. That's how bad this receiving core is. So like, it's as bad as I've ever seen it. And I worry, like, how do you overcome it? You know, they did it Sunday. How big is Sunday? When we get out of here before we decide whether we want
like
how big is Sunday for Rizzy?
The biggest game was the Falcons, and considering DA is gone, the bigness of this one is reduced slightly because DA isn't here.
How big is it for Rizzy, though? For him personally? How big is it?
It's a home game.
They're favored by a point. They're favored by a point.
You know, you got the 3 home game. You know, they're in the midst of a 3 straight home game stretch. So if they can win 2 of these 3, that looks good for Rizzy. You know, you go on, and then you got 2 road games that look winnable. You got another home game that looks winnable. Rizzy has to, like, the good vibes, as long as the Saints don't look like absolute shit on Sunday, the good vibes will mostly continue with Rizzy. Yeah. Because he's not DA. That'll carry him probably through the rest of the year. He's not DA. As long as he gives, sounds like a leader, acts like a leader, shows enthusiasm, has fire and all that kind of stuff. That'll sort of carry him through the rest of the year with the fan base. But in terms of him being able to stick around, he's got to stack some wins. For him, the Saints should be able to beat the Browns. This is one of the games that the Saints should win if Rizzy expects to be kept on. I'll say get a serious look at next year when they're interviewing people.
I think this is a huge game for Rizzy, because I believe if you lose to the Browns at home, you have a bye week, everybody goes home. I don't think they'll come back from the bye week like energized. It'll just be like, okay, we got to finish this thing out. We got to give professional effort. We'll give effort if the game's close. And I believe it'll kind of like the bounce will kind of fade. And it makes it very difficult for Rizzy to keep the job, because I believe if they don't beat the Browns, they're probably only winning maybe like one more. Like they'll beat the Giants or the Raiders, and that'll be that, right? And if he goes 4-13, he's not getting the interim job. But he's not getting he's not going from interim to full. But Kevin, this is toxic positivity Ralph talking here.
Of course.
Listen. You beat Cleveland. Okay? You get to 4-7. Atlanta goes out to Denver. loses to the Broncos, which is not far-fetched because the Broncos are 5-5. So Atlanta and the Saints go into the bye week Atlanta goes into bye week 6-5. The Saints are 4-7. Yes, they're 2 games behind, but the Saints, we might not believe it. You might not believe it, but the Saints can say, listen, we got a bye week. We're going to come off this bye week. We're going to play the Rams at home. If we can beat the Rams at home and the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh can do us a favor in Atlanta, then suddenly Atlanta's 6-6 and we're 5-7. And then, Kevin, then the Saints, incredibly, miraculously, unbelievably, are actually playing for something. And Rizzy will have their full attention those final games in a way that I don't think he's going to have it if they can't beat Cleveland. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying the Saints are going to make a run and go 10. They're not going to do any of that. But I believe if Rizzy, to keep them engaged and to keep them fired up and loving them and playing hard and practicing hard, they got to beat Cleveland. They have to beat Cleveland, because if they lose to Cleveland and go into this bye week, I think after the bye week, it's just going to be a lot of sadness and potential blowouts, and Rizzy's chance to be the full-time coach fades away. So for him, Cleveland, incredibly important this weekend. I know you're rolling your eyes at me because I just gave some toxic positivity. I'm just saying. I think this game for him is critical.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I will, I'm just.
And I hate Atlanta. And I hate Atlanta. Atlanta's fraudulent, and I am 100% convinced Atlanta is going to try to let the Saints and Tampa get back into the race of the NFC South. Now, can the Saints and can Tampa actually string together wins and get back in? I don't know. But I'm telling you, Kevin, if you told me to bet money, I would bet money in 3 weeks, the Atlanta Falcons are going to be 6-6. What the Saints will be, what Tampa will be, I don't know.
Hey,
but I'm telling you, Atlanta.
Check the timestamp on this.
Take it to
Atlanta's a bunch of fraudulent frauds, and they'll be 6-6 in 3 weeks. So, all right. So, Kevin, before we get out of here, we always say, you made the pick on Tuesday. Thanks for joining the big show. When you join the big show, the energy's better. I enjoy it when we have the full boat of people. It makes me happy because I love when everybody's together.
Yeah.
You hit it exactly last week. Exactly the score. Are you changing your pick? And are you still as confident in your pick that you made on Tuesday?
I'm sticking with 27-17. I can't remember who I picked to be the MVP. I've got it on my phone, but
Jermaine Jackson.
Jermaine Jackson, right, because of the special teams and possibly he lines up as a wide receiver. I'm sticking with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sticking with that.
I'm pretty confident in this game. I know. Listen, the Saints, they didn't play really particularly well against Atlanta. Atlanta had 460 some odd yards of offense. They missed 2 kicks. The Saints blocked another one. Atlanta had like critical penalties that just like killed drives right in the red zone. So the Saints didn't play particularly well, and I'll grant you that. But here's the thing, Kevin. Cleveland is not nearly as good as Atlanta. So like the Saints, they could play maybe a little bit better and have beat Cleveland, or they could play about the same level and still beat Cleveland. It isn't like they're staying in the same level of class. I believe they're going down a level against Cleveland. So I'm keeping my pick. I'm saying Saints 24, Cleveland 13. I think Jameis is going to be horrific in this game. And I actually think I almost made him my player of the game. I made Alante Taylor my player of the game, but I actually think this last stretch of games, 7 games, Chase Young is going to make an incredible push for either the Saints or another team to do something really, really dumb and pay him a lot of money. I think Chase Young is going to have a really great 7-week finish, and we're going to be arguing all offseason, should the Saints try to keep him or not? because he had 7, 8, 9 sacks. That's my prediction.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that kind of argument in the
Well, look,
offseason.
if he gets paid, Kevin, and it's not the Saints, if he gets paid like $10 million a year, 2 or 3 year deal, you get that sweet comp pick, right? So
Fine with that.
So
Run me my picks.
anyway,
Run me my picks.
that's right. That's right.
All I care about.
Thanks to everybody listening, supporting the show. We appreciate you guys. So thanks for listening. Do me a favor, follow us on socials, give us a like if you're watching on YouTube, and tell all your friends about the show. And if you're feeling generous, consider becoming a Patreon by going to patreon.com/Happy Hour. That way you get tons of extra content like Kevin Love updates, behind the scenes, Thomas, Secret Life of Poland. It's amazing. You should do it. So for Kevin, for Thomas, I'm Ralph. We will see you after Saints Browns on Sunday afternoon.